Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. I'm Michelle.
And for those of you that are new here, welcome to our channel. My name is Jessie, and we are Moms on Crime. In this channel, we talk about everything paranormal and true crime. So today, Michelle has a story for us. So what are we talking about today, Mama?
I am going to tell you a crazy story that's had me messed up for days. It's something that I just found out in the last 3 or 4 days, and I have been so messed up, I couldn't even sleep last night thinking about it. Before I jump into the story, please go ahead and subscribe right now. Go ahead and click the subscribe button before I get into today's story. All right, so are you ready? Are you ready not to sleep tonight?
Oh no, I'm scared. So what are we talking about?
Today's story is about the actual events that took place that inspired the movie A Nightmare on Elm Street. Did you know that that movie is based on actual events?
No, well, I've heard that it was based on true events and stuff, but then some people were saying, no, it's not. So is it?
It is.
Freddy Krueger?
Yes. So, Wes Craven, we know, he wrote the story, Nightmare on Elm Street. So we all know this movie, and I'm a kid of the 80s, and it petrified me. Freddy Krueger scared me so bad, and I mean, now that I'm older, I could watch it and go to sleep just fine, right?
Right.
Until the last couple of days when I actually read the story behind that story and shooketh. Mama, I'm shooketh. I cannot.
Oh, no.
I get it out of my mind. Okay, so
I'm gonna have nightmares tonight too. I probably won't go to sleep.
Oh my god. In 1981, Wes Craven actually read a newspaper article, actually a series of newspaper articles, and it inspired him to write the movie A Nightmare on Elm Street. So the backstory is about a Cambodian family who moved to the United States in 1980, 1981. So back then in the late 70s and early 80s in Cambodia and Laos, there was actually a lot of unrest taking place. Communism had taken over, and many people left Cambodia, Laos, and they came to the United States to seek, they were refugees. They came here to, get away from the genocide that was taking place and the war that was taking place. And what I read is that many young men were forced into fighting the war. Even if they didn't want to, they didn't have a choice. It became a communist country. They were forced to fight in a war that, they didn't want to be a soldier, but they were forced to. So many families sought refuge in, I believe they went to Thailand, and then a large group came to the United States, and they settled on mainly the West Coast. So the story that Wes Craven read was about a Cambodian family, and they had a teenage son. And sometime after they came to the United States, the son began to have nightmares. And these nightmares were so vivid and so terrifying to him. He described it as like a monster chasing him and that it wanted to kill him. And he told his parents, if I go to sleep, I'm gonna die. And they urged him to go to sleep and get rest. And I guess weeks, a lot of time went by, and he refused to go to sleep because every time he would have nightmares. So he started to fight harder and harder and harder. And his dad actually tried to give him sleeping pills, but he didn't take them. They found out later he didn't take them. So one night, the boy goes to sleep, and the parents are like, okay, it's over. He's all right now, and it's past. They go to bed, and in the night they're woken up by screaming sounds of just blood-curdling screams coming from son bed. By the time they get to him, so I don't know what that means. I don't know if they had trouble getting to him. I don't know. But by the time they got to him where he was sleeping, he was already dead. So an autopsy was done on him, and there was no underlying health conditions. Nothing was wrong with him. He was a healthy teenage boy. Nothing was wrong with him. They couldn't explain it. So it started to come about where there was more instances of the same thing happening to these same like this group of refugees that had come to the United States, where there was men all between the age of like, say, 15 to 40, I think it ended up saying, or 45. There was 180 deaths of young men with no underlying health concerns, no conditions.
Of the same cause, like sleeping?
Yes.
What?
All of them, before they died, had told friends and family that they were having terrible, vivid nightmares, and they were afraid to go to sleep because they felt so strongly that this thing was going to get them and they were going to die. And all of them died in their sleep, and every single one was described the same way, where there was screaming and thrashing, and then all of a sudden they just died and there was no saving them. There was nothing they could do to save their life. Yes.
And all of them were from Cambodia.
Yes. So
I wonder if something happened when they were there.
There's like, what I was reading is there were so many deaths that were also similar. The CDC got involved and they began to do an investigation. And there was a couple of different scenarios that were tossed around. They thought maybe there was some sort of like germ warfare used in the war that they were forced to fight in, like during the genocide. So they looked into that, like maybe if there was some sort of chemical they were exposed to, but based on autopsies, they couldn't find anything to support that. Nothing to support that. And a few of them may have had like cardiac dysrhythmia or maybe like a slightly enlarged heart, but in all cases, medical examiners said they didn't believe that the condition was bad enough to cause sudden death.
Yeah.
They actually named it Asian death syndrome, and that just seems like a terrible term to me. Like that just, I guess because it was the 80s, and I don't like that term very much. But all of these deaths all affected young Asian men that had come here from Cambodia and Laos to escape the war. And what the craziest thing, government, how it feels like they always try to explain something away. And it seems like in this case, they really cannot explain it away. And from everything I read, they started to talk about like this group of people were farmers in Cambodia, and they lived in very small communities. And the religion that they had was very much based on like the earth and like taking care of their lands. It's compared very similarly to like Native American religion, how they believe, everything around them is alive and their religion has a lot to do with nature, right? So it's said that these refugees, when they came to the United States, they all had a very hard time adapting because they were, they lived in small villages, and then all of a sudden they come to the United States and they settle in big cities, and it was very hard for them to adapt. And it was
like
hard
the cultural shock.
Yeah, they were all of a sudden, I mean, they showed up here, and right away they were going to doctors for issues with anxiety and PTSD. Many of them had PTSD, especially the ones that were forced to fight in the war. They had PTSD. So
you think
it
that was it?
They looked into that, like maybe that's actually what it was, is maybe it was a form of PTSD and their anxiety was so strong, but that also couldn't be determined, for sure that that's what caused the death. But then you start to get into like the spiritual and paranormal aspect of it, where many of them felt like they were betraying their religion and their beliefs because they came here and they didn't farm anymore. They didn't have land to tend to. So in their mind, they were betraying their religion because they were not feeding the earth. They weren't producing, right? And then also what I read is in Cambodia and in Laos, I guess there's a belief that there's a night hag. And when I read it, I don't know, I kind of laughed because I was like, oh, it's like me, right? A night hag. So what they say, a night hag is like a jealous woman who is a spirit and will prey on young men while they're sleeping. So I guess in Cambodia, it's common for men to dress as women when they go to bed. so that the night hag
would be
won't get them.
confused. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she'll be confused and she won't know that it's actually a man. So I guess that's like a pretty big belief in Cambodian culture, that these deaths are all attributed to a night hag, that she actually killed all of them because she was angry with them for coming to the United States and like adapting to our culture, for trying to like be an American, and they were not. So
that's crazy. See, I told you, like from when we were talking about the urban legends from our other video, like it's a cultural thing, you know, like it's what they believe in, and it's like a spiritual thing too, you know. So I guess it's like the more they believe in it, like I guess the more it becomes real. So for them, they believe about the night hag.
Yeah.
And
that's what it said, that they were actually literally scared to death. Their fears and their anxiety over, I guess just the culture shock of coming here. I guess that's what explain it, but what explains the nightmares leading up to it? Like, is that actually something that they created in their own mind, that they were so afraid, and maybe the PTSD of what they had seen before they sought refuge in the United States, did that really cause them to be scared to death?
But that's crazy though. It's like, to what level of, you know, stress or like PTSD or anxiety? I don't know. For that to happen. And 100 something, that's a lot of cases.
One woman, I guess mostly all men, one woman died under the same circumstances.
Oh, there's a woman. Oh, wow.
Just one. Only one woman. But I mean,
so nobody can determine like the cause of death or something, not like a heart attack or...
No, they had a name for it and I thought I had it written down. It's SUDS, and I think it was sudden unexplained death syndrome. So they actually made a term for it called SUDS, sudden unidentified or unknown death syndrome. And all I know is that they had other names too. I don't like it. I guess it's just because it was the 80s and it was a lot like terms were thrown around back then that are just now, you know what I mean? But they named it like Oriental Nightmare Death Syndrome because it only affected Asian men, but I don't like that name because that's just blah. But
everybody was trying to be all creative back in the day. What should we name it?
Yeah, like, but because Wes Craven read these series of articles and he kind of looked into it further, he decided to kind of use his imagination and write this story. And he actually got inspiration for Freddy Krueger from two different areas in his life that happened in his childhood. One thing that happened to him in his childhood, he saw a man from his bedroom window standing like under a streetlight, and the man was like very disfigured and he had a fedora hat on, and I guess he was standing under a streetlight and he saw him and it scared him so terribly it stayed with him for the rest of his life, because it said the man began to antagonize him, but it didn't go into detail, so I don't really know what he did.
Yeah.
And then he named him Freddy Krueger after a bully in elementary school. A bully was named Frederick, I think it was. So he combined all of these things and he made this monster based off of bad things that happened in his childhood. And this actual story that he saw in a newspaper that just like intrigued him so much. And the more I think about it, it's so crazy to me because I have crazy sleep issues. Like I've told you, I walk in my sleep and I talk in my sleep, and sometimes I wake up and I'm like freaking out. And I read this and I was like, oh no, I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
Oh my God, that is crazy though. It's like, I want to know. But then again, like you said, if science can't explain it, it's like, you know, usually they always have like an explanation for pretty much everything. So if this
No.
one, if they can't explain it, they can't find like the real cause of death, then I mean, what else could it be? I'm pretty sure it's something spiritual or
like how odd though that they all described like a horrific monster chasing them in their dreams and they were just so afraid to go to sleep. Like that teenage boy, they found that he had been hiding all the sleeping pills his dad was giving him, and they found a coffee pot hidden in his closet. He was drinking coffee to stay awake. How crazy though that they all had this very similar dreams and they all died in their sleep, screaming in their sleep.
Crazy.
So is it just that their beliefs were just all so ingrained in all of their heads, and they all had PTSD and so much anxiety that it literally like scared them to death?
Yeah, I don't know. It could be, but then again, like all of them, like 100. Oh, that's
And within like
crazy.
18 months. Oh yeah, that was the other thing. It was all within like 18 months that this happened.
I've never heard of it before.
Me either. I never did either until like 3 or 4 days ago, and I was like,
what? It's a real
thing.
Like
I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. Mama.
Oh my gosh.
That's my story about Nightmare on Elm Street. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope you can sleep tonight because I didn't sleep last night. It was doing my notes. But you guys, if you like this story, please make sure to like it. Leave a comment below. Tell us what you think. Do you think it was based on their beliefs? Do you think they scared themselves to death? Was it PTSD? Is it real? What do you think?
What is it?
Is that actually something in Asian culture that is actually real? The night hag, is it real? Like did she do this? Was she upset with them for coming to the United States and seeking refuge? Tell us what you think. And please don't forget to subscribe to our channel.
Yeah, that was a very mind-boggling subject or topic for today. But you guys don't forget to hit that notification bell so that every time we upload, you guys will be notified. And also, if you guys want to reach out to us, we do have Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Momsoncrime. And also, you guys can email us. We reply back. Email us at momsoncrime@gmail.com. And I hope you guys enjoyed this story. We'll see you next time. Bye.